Thank you for your interest in recognizing and supporting survivors of human trafficking. This training has been created through a collaboration between SCORE Lawrence, the Willow Domestic Violence Center, and the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center.
This discussion will include sensitive topics such as sexual abuse, physical violence, and exploitation. Please feel free to take a break or do whatever you need to take care of yourself. Also, if you need, you may call either of our 24/7 hotlines if you need more support. You can see the hotlines listed on this slide. And if this training brings up something personal for you, we want you to take advantage of that support and know that you're not alone. The World Cup is anticipated to bring approximately 650,000 people to the Kansas City metro area, including Lawrence, from May to July of 2026. Lawrence has also been chosen as a base camp. This means that this will be the home base for that team to practice and reside during the entirety of the tournament. Along with the team will be support staff, family, friends, and fans. Human rights scandals have marred World Cup tournaments for years. FIFA has required all host cities to develop action plans to protect human rights for the 2026 games in North America. The United States has not hosted the World Cup since 1994, so this is fairly uncharted territory, and we want to be prepared as possible as a community. A trafficking survivor in Houston shared that her traffickers absolutely targeted large-scale events such as the Super Bowl and Final Four tournaments, and that the communities and states that are chosen as sites have to be prepared for this possibility and influx. There is also an increased risk for vulnerable members of our own community to be lured into labor or sex trafficking with the increase of short-term jobs and visitors. The Willow, along with the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center here in Lawrence, are honored to share what we already do with regards to education and prevention work in the community and being able to reach out to more members. Our hope is that this increased awareness and discussion of this topic will help to prevent trafficking and streamline support for survivors during this once-in-a-lifetime event.
We can never underestimate the power of our words on those who are being exploited and their willingness to reach out for help. We should adopt their preferred terms that focus on respect, empowerment, and validating strengths, avoiding words like prostitute, victim, etc. Also use person-first language to avoid stigmatizing them. People may choose sex work due to a combination of financial and lifestyle factors, including poverty, a lack of other job opportunities, or the desire for higher earnings. The legality of these activities varies widely, from being completely illegal to legally regulated or decriminalized, depending upon the jurisdiction. Additionally, a person may exchange sex or sexual activity or things they need or want, such as food, housing, hormones, drugs, gifts, or other resources. Survival sex is a term used by many nonprofit organizations and researchers to describe trading of sex for survival needs. High levels of stigma and criminalization contribute to the risk sex workers face. Stigma and criminalization create significant barriers to accessing support for sex workers by making them afraid to seek help due to fear of legal repercussions, judgmental treatment, and violence. The sex industry is a broad term for commercial trade in sexual services and goods, including activities like prostitution, pornography, stripping, and erotic dancing. The myth of choice says that nearly all prostituted women have been coerced into prostitution against their will, either directly or by circumstances, which include addiction, poverty, and an unstable or abusive home life, lack of education, and or opportunity.
Now that we've talked about the history of human trafficking, let's start to understand what exactly it is and how it is perpetuated. The definition of human trafficking is the act of recruiting, harboring, transporting, providing, or obtaining a person for commercial sex acts or labor. Please note that anyone under the age of 18 engaging in commercial sex industry is considered to be a victim of human trafficking. And again, think about this in the context of not just sex trafficking, but overall human trafficking. These are different types of human trafficking. We tend to only think about sex trafficking, but labor trafficking is just as prevalent. Here are the definitions broken down a bit further. Sex trafficking, the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for the purpose of a commercial sex act in which the commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not attained 18 years of age. On the other hand, labor trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining a person for labor or services, again through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bond, or slavery. So we can see there is a clear distinct difference between sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Human trafficking is a hidden crime, meaning a crime that happens in the black market or behind closed doors because it is an illicit trade. Labor trafficking can be a little bit more in your face. So on the right side of that diagram, you can see things like landscaping, hospitality work, constructions, the industries such as restaurants and food services, recreational services, even healthcare, right? So those folks that are out and then being exploited for their labor, potentially at a reduced rate. So these can be a little bit more in your face and able to identify as opposed to sex trafficking. In addition, people who have been experienced conditions of trafficking often do not come forward because of a variety of factors. As such, it is extremely difficult to determine how many trafficking victims there are in the world or even in the United States. It is important to be cautious when using statistics related to the prevalence of trafficking because there is so little methodology that is sound to require data to answer that question.
When we are talking about human trafficking, we need to broaden our mind past what we have seen in the movies. There is an assumption that people that are traffickers are always going to look like bad guys. They are always going to be driving a creepy white van, and that they are strangers to those that are being trafficked. The reality is, we know that traffickers can be anybody. Human trafficking is a profit-driven industry where the demand is for sex or cheap labor. Traffickers are good at their business and know how to target vulnerabilities to meet their demand. And if you think about what makes somebody good at business, you understand the supply and the demand of your industry. Labor traffickers are often working as subcontractors who provide labor for large corporations at a cheap cost, leaving the larger corporation with no liability. Sex traffickers are often someone who knows the victim, friend, a family member, intimate partner, church leader, and also someone they met online. According to the Polaris Project, 42% of identified victims were brought into trafficking by a family member, and 39% were brought by an intimate partner or a marriage proposal. The reason that it is important to have this knowledge is to help educate our youth, our vulnerable community members, and understanding that trafficking is not fitting the narrative of what we have seen in the movies. Here we see some possible warning signs of a trafficker. It's important to note that the presence of some of these behaviors does not automatically imply that that person is a trafficker. However, it's something to be aware of in our own lives and as we're working to educate vulnerable people and youth that are around us. Some potential warning signs are somebody who is controlling, someone who has a history of violence, somebody who is significantly older than the person who is being targeted, somebody who may be pressuring activities that are illegal, pushing sexual boundaries, trying to break down what's comfortable for that person. Another possibility of something to look into is somebody who is pushy or demanding for sex, somebody who is very vague about what they do for work, and somebody who showers someone with expensive gifts, such as trips or valuable objects. Traffickers are ever evolving, and as our lives have gone more and more online, so has trafficking and recruitment. Targeting youth and others online has become increasingly common tactic. Traffickers will look for vulnerable young people who are receptive to their advances. According to data from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, there has been a 97.5% increase in reports of online enticement in 2020 versus 2019. Common places where people have been recruited are social media sites, gaming websites, dating websites, dark web, services such as OnlyFans and Craigslist, and through pre-existing relationships.
Understand why it's so hard for people to get out of that situation. A predator often becomes a trafficker or works for one. Predators often use grooming to build a relationship, posing as romantic partners, friends, or employers to lure victims into a trafficking situation. Traffickers are experts at finding those moments when people are vulnerable, of working the angles, of manipulating reality and leveraging fears. The process is called grooming. It is methodical, intentional, and it works. Indeed, it is the most common way that people, adults and children, wind up in sexual trafficking situations. Sex trafficking rarely begins with a violent abduction or with a stranger involved at all. It begins with someone the victim knows and usually loves or trusts. While every situation is different, The overall grooming process usually involves the following steps. First, targeting. Traffickers identify vulnerable individuals who may have unmet emotional needs or physical needs, such as loneliness, a history of trauma, low self-esteem, or economic stress. This often occurs online via social media or gaming sites, or in person at places like malls or shelters. 2. Gaining trust and information. The trafficker develops a false sense of security and intimacy with the victims, often by pretending to have shared interests, offering gifts, attention, or seemingly romantic relationships. This is sometimes referred as the honeymoon stage. They gather information that can later be used for manipulation. 3. Meeting needs. The trafficker positions themselves as the solution to the victim's problems by providing the support or items they lack. For example, a place to stay, money, or love, and a sense of belonging. This creates dependency, making the victim feel indebted to them. The next stages of grooming include isolation. The perpetrator works to distance the victim from their existing support systems, such as family and friends. This makes the victim more reliant solely on the trafficker and less likely to seek outside help or contradicting opinions. Then there's abuse and exploitation. This relationship shifts from a seemingly loving or supportive one to one involving abuse, force, or coercion. This can include physical, sexual, emotional, or financial abuse. The trafficker might introduce drugs or alcohol, use blackmail or compromising images, or create a false debt that the victim must work off. Maintaining control is the objective. Traffickers use various tactics to the victim to keep them trapped, including threats of violence against them or their family, gaslighting, destroying the victim's self-esteem, or controlling their finances or identification documents.
Now we are going to look over some myths and some facts about human trafficking. And if you find yourself that you've believed some of the myths, don't feel bad. We are just starting to have these in-depth conversations about human trafficking, even though it's something that really truly has been around forever. It's hard to imagine the kind of lack of regard for human suffering one would have to become a trafficker. So it becomes hard for us to imagine that this is something that is happening in our own community. Much of what we know about trafficking has been sensationalized and comes from movies and television shows. But with recent cases making their way to the headlines, we are learning more and more about trafficking and what it really is and what it really isn't. The reason that we discuss myths and facts is because we need to know what we are looking for. If we only believe the myths, we are missing many, many possible victims and also not deepening our understanding of this issue. One of the myths we're going to explore is that only women and girls can be victims and survivors of human trafficking. The reality is that men and boys are also victimized by sex traffickers. LGBTQ plus boys and young men are particularly vulnerable to trafficking. Another myth is that people in active trafficking situations are going to always want help getting out and be desperate to get out. As we'll discuss later, fear, isolation, guilt, shame, misplaced loyalty, and traffickers being expert manipulators are the many factors that may keep somebody from seeking help or even identifying as a victim. We also only think about human trafficking at times as something that happens to non-national U.S. citizens, so that it's something that only happens to foreign nationals. The reality is that the majority of sex trafficking survivors in the U.S. are predominantly United States citizens. The final myth we'll explore is that if the trafficked person consented to be in their initial situation, then it can't really be considered human trafficking because they knew better. In reality, even initial consent to a commercial sex act or a labor setting such as taking a job, if there are acts of force, fraud, or coercion, it is then considered human trafficking, regardless of what the original intent was or if the person is getting paid. The action means purpose model is a tool to determine whether a situation fits the federal definition of human trafficking. The action is the thing the trafficker does to the trafficking victim using the means or the method the trafficker uses to compel a person into the purpose or the type of exploitation. Human trafficking occurs when a perpetrator, often referred to as a trafficker, any of these listed actions, and then employs the means of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of compelling the victim to provide commercial sex acts, labor, or services. Examining force, fraud, and coercion, we can see that force includes both physical violence, threats of physical violence, and attempts to control. through these threats. Fraud includes false promises of work, pay, or opportunities, as well as fraudulently convincing somebody that they are in a relationship, that they are genuinely somebody that cares about that person, and that there is some sort of significant connection. Coercion includes manipulation, threats, or abuse of power.
As we discussed earlier, traffickers care about one thing: making profit. And like any good business person, they understand the supply and demand of their industry. Trafficking is very common in group homes, juvenile detention centers, and jails. Traffickers know that individuals at these locations are experiencing hardship, and they can play those challenges by offering financial or emotional support to gain their trust. Very common to have peer-to-peer recruitment at group homes. And as we can note on the vulnerabilities slide here, 63% of survivors say lack of safe housing is the greatest barrier to leaving trafficking situations. LGBTQ youth are 5 times more likely to be trafficked than their heterosexual peers, and 1 in 7 runaway youth become sex trafficking victims. These are the vulnerabilities that have been understood as patterns when analyzing survivor demographics. Important to note, someone could have all of these and never be trafficked. Someone could have none of them and still be trafficked, but these are the trends that have been identified. Having a disability, people with disabilities are up to 5 times more likely to experience domestic and sexual violence. 81% of women and 75% of men trafficked for sex report past abuse in childhood or adolescence. And foreign nationals account for 94% of forced labor cases. Immigrants are especially vulnerable to labor trafficking due to immigration threats. We can see here that the conditions that lead to people being vulnerable do not happen in a vacuum. There are individual, family, community, and society risk factors that contribute to people being at risk of many kinds of exploitation. We know that some survivors of human trafficking may be forced to engage in criminal activities during their exploitation, and in some cases may be trafficked for the purpose of criminal exploitation. Criminalization increases sex workers' vulnerability to violence and harassment, and the fear of self-incrimination prevents them from reporting these crimes to the police. Knowing these factors helps us target prevention efforts.
Just like labor and sex trafficking intersect, so do domestic violence and human trafficking. Here we see some statistics where that intersection occurs. It's important to note that someone could be both a survivor of human trafficking and domestic violence at the same time by the same person. It can be hard to discern what else is happening beneath the surface. That's why building rapport and being able to ask the right questions can help figure that out. We want to highlight that they are not mutually exclusive, that screening for domestic violence could be screening for human trafficking, and vice versa. Victims often demonstrate symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. They may experience trauma bonding wherein they demonstrate a sense of loyalty or affection for their trafficker. They may also believe their trafficker truly cares for them and that their situation will improve over time. This type of thinking is common among victims of trafficking and is a result of trauma rather than an indication that an individual is not truly a victim. Human trafficking victims may also be hesitant to accuse their trafficker or ask for help because they fear the repercussions. Many have suffered physical violence and threats against themselves and their loved ones. They may have also witnessed physical violence against other victims who tried to leave or asked for help, and therefore they know their trafficker is willing and able to carry out threats. Statistics show that 92% of trafficking survivors report experiencing domestic violence, often by a partner or family member. 50% of trafficked women and girls endure domestic violence before, during, and after trafficking. 70% of adult female trafficking victims experience prior intimate partner violence. The 4 R's of trauma-informed care come from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. It is an approach for systems to interact with individuals who have experienced trauma in a way that does not cause more trauma. The 4 R's: realizes, recognizes, responds, resist. Realizes widespread impact of trauma and understands potential paths for recovery. Recognizes signs and symptoms of trauma in clients, families, staff, and others involved with the system. Responds by fully integrating knowledge about trauma into policies, procedures, and practices. Resists seeks to actively resist re-traumatization. A trauma-informed person realizes that trauma is very common and influences behavior and coping mechanisms. This is important to know, as we will discuss later. Being trafficked is almost always an event that will cause trauma, and to be able to assist, we have to have some understanding of the impacts of trauma on individuals. As we've discussed, those who are being trafficked are often being held by psychological forces more than physical forces, so they are likely to interact with multiple systems while they are in captivity. The most common intersection occurs in healthcare. This lets us know that we need to ensure that we are constantly vigilant, looking beyond stereotypes and asking the right questions. With a sudden surge in population this summer, it is expected that those of us working in the healthcare sector will have increased calls for services as well as a greater likelihood of encountering individuals being trafficked. We know that 87.8% of human trafficking survivors reported having contact with a healthcare provider while they were being trafficked, and 63.3% of those who had contact in healthcare settings were treated in an emergency room. Unique role of healthcare providers. Healthcare is the number one system that those being trafficked are likely to encounter. The way someone is treated when they interact with systems shapes how comfortable they will feel reaching out in the future. For the unique role of healthcare providers is that they are already established as a trusted professional who deals with sensitive issues. 88% of the human trafficking victims reported having contact with healthcare at some point during their exploitation, with the ER being most common. This can shape victims' responses to reaching out and allow workers to provide resources. Those who act as first responders or make home visits also have a unique role in seeing the home environment that people are living in, and this can help make additional observations. Those of us who respond to home environments are uniquely positioned to observe physical clues, especially in moments of crisis when the environment hasn't been manipulated. The unique role of first responders and home visitors is that they might be the first and sometimes only professional to speak with survivors immediately after an incident. They are the only professionals who can identify survivors who might otherwise enter the system as criminal offenders. And they are a vital link between the criminal justice system and victim support services. Impacts of human trafficking on health. Trauma impacts health. Period. Trauma on the brain impacts how a person perceives information. These impacts can include an overactive amygdala, someone being highly alert and activated, they're in a loop looking for and perceiving danger everywhere. An underactive hippocampus. Stress hormones kill cells in the hippocampus, making it harder to convert short-term memory into long-term memory. The body and mind stay in a reactive mode, which can lead to a fragmented memory. They may struggle with some spatial awareness, and the impact of extreme stress and trauma lead to higher risks of these health complications. The possible impacts on health include depression, anxiety, substance misuse, frequent or untreated sexually transmitted infections, hepatitis, HIV, chronic pain, gastrointestinal issues, hypertension, traumatic brain injury, either from an injury or strangulation, neurological issues, and complications in pregnancy. Now we will discuss some red flags, and we'd like to give a disclaimer that just because you see some of the indicators we are about to discuss, that does not automatically mean that trafficking is occurring. However, it can be a sign to look for more subtle signs and ask more questions. Indicators in the home environment. There is such an overlap between substance use and trauma that anytime we see signs of substance use, our curiosity should be piqued. Indicators in the home environment can include presence or fear of another person, or someone speaking for another person, a variety of adults in the room, the presence of runaway youths in the home, locks on doors and windows or extreme security measures, alcohol bottles, drug paraphernalia, and large amounts of sexual paraphernalia, cameras throughout the residence, a lack of personal items in bedrooms or bathrooms, expensive items that don't match the living standard. Just seeing these indicators does not automatically mean there is human trafficking. However, it is an opportunity to slow down and pay attention to other cues. Personal indicators can include someone who is a frequent runaway, transient, or unsure of their location, sexually explicit profiles on social networking sites, someone that does not have appropriate clothing for the weather, if they're inconsistent and vague when describing and recounting events, they do not have their own ID or passport, they're hesitant to go to the hospital or to speak to law enforcement, an excess amount of cash or expensive items with vague or no explanation of where they came from. They might come across as fearful, angry, and rude. They have multiple cell phones and hotel key cards. If they have no personal items, the presence or fear of another person. These are just indicators. There could be an innocuous explanation. Do always remember the impacts of trauma on human development, and that those who are working in the field of trafficking often have negative experiences with systems and may present as angry or rude, as that is a defense mechanism. Health and physical indicators. Some of the health and physical indicators could be injuries that should have been treated earlier, someone who has bruises consistent with abuse or workplace accidents with minimal explanation, someone who claims to be just visiting, or if they're unable to clarify where they live, maybe they don't know exactly where they are or how long they have been there. Other signs include signs of drug use, IV and otherwise, malnutrition and fatigue, if they express being in debt or owing someone something, sexually transmitted infections, multiple pregnancies, multiple abortions, if their overbearing, controlling partner or family member is present, if they appear to be living at their work site. These can all be health and physical indicators to keep an eye out for. The next section has a few screening tools that we have come across. These 3 questions are considered the pre-screening questions for both labor and sex trafficking. Any positive response should lead to more intensive screening. If you don't have much time, these are good questions to ask or listen for in conversations. Are you able to come and go from home and work as you please? If not, are you threatened if you try to leave? Does anyone pressure you to do something illegal, or is someone profiting off of you? Do you owe anyone a debt that makes you uncomfortable? Another potentially helpful tool is the PAIR tool. And this is part of a shifting trend to universal education about human trafficking, sexual assault, and domestic violence, instead of the "do you feel safe at home" question that is currently asked in most healthcare settings. So first, you want to provide privacy. Provide the patient with a safe and private setting, and consider strategies to separate the patient from their companion in a non-threatening manner. Explain any limits to confidentiality, like letting them know you're a mandated reporter. 2. Educate. Educate the patient about abuse, neglect, and violence in a non-judgmental manner that normalizes sharing information. Provide the patient with educational brochures or contact information, such as local providers and national hotlines. 3. Ask. Screen the patient for abuse, neglect, or violence. If there are risk factors or indicators of victimization, ask about these concerns. 4. Respect and respond. If the patient denies victimization or declines assistance, then respect their wishes. Offer the information about resources that can assist the patient in the event of an emergency, such as local service providers and crisis hotlines. If the patient accepts help, consider referring them to local resources and provide information for the local and national resources as appropriate. This is an example of a screening tool. Just like anything else, we are going to get more information as we build rapport and the client becomes more comfortable with us. It could take several sessions to build enough comfort for a victim to disclose what they're experiencing. The new trauma-informed guidelines are not to do the screening as a checklist, but to weave it into conversation using open-ended questions, things like "tell me more" and motivational interviewing techniques. We really like this example from the National Human Trafficking Training Center. Notice that the questions start with, "Sometimes this happens to other people. Has it ever happened to you?" That just feels a lot softer and more likely to lead to exploring the different levels of exploitation someone might have experienced, better than a yes or no question. So read one of the questions and highlight how different it feels to explain than to ask. This also is a goal of trauma-informed practices, which is universal education. So it feels much better to say, "Sometimes people do unfair, unsafe, or even dangerous work or stay in dangerous situations because if they don't, someone might hurt them or someone they love. Have you ever experienced this? Or are you in a situation where you think this could happen?" Sometimes people are not allowed to keep or hold on to their own identification or travel documents. Have you ever experienced this? Or are you in a situation where you think this could happen? There is a QR code that links you to the questionnaire and the toolkit on how to administer it. A huge part of trauma-informed practice is to offer safety planning to anyone we suspect is experiencing some type of exploitation. Just as in domestic violence situations, leaving a trafficking situation is also a dangerous endeavor. Ideally, this would be a good time for the patient to call the Willow or care center so our trained advocates could safety plan with them. However, there are times when someone may not want to do that. So if you provide even the most basic safety planning, it could make a difference. Here are some ways that you can safety plan with someone who is still in their situation. You can ask them to identify safe contacts, maybe that's trusted coworkers, neighbors, or service providers. Have them come up with a code word so they use that code word with a trusted person to signal danger. They should avoid detection, keeping a hidden bag with essentials. This could be with ID copies, money, medications, trusted contact info, etc. And then planning exits. Identify opportunities to seek help safely. Something like a doctor's visit, maybe. If they are already planning to leave, some of the safety planning tips you can give them is to contact support. They can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline or a local agency. Talk about arranging transportation, the use of public transit, a ride from a trusted person, or with the help of a service provider. They should pack essentials: clothing, ID, emergency contacts, documents, medication, and cash. Ensure tech safety. Erase search history, use incognito mode, disable location tracking, or use a secure device. Next, we will show scenario videos made by the Ohio Attorney General's Office. There are 4 videos, each with discussion questions and considerations. Feel free to watch all 4 or choose the one or ones that best fit the work you do.
Across all areas of healthcare, from harm reduction and addiction services to emergency medicine, every interaction is a chance to see beyond the surface. Today, we follow a team aboard the Project Dawn mobile unit, delivering community-based care like syringe exchange and support services. Along the way, they encounter a situation that reveals a painful truth. Traffickers often use addiction as a means of control, and the stigma around substance use keeps many victims of human trafficking hidden in plain sight.
Tanya, when was the last time you changed the bandage?
Last night. It's been really hard to keep clean, and I don't have the right stuff. And I feel like really it hurts. It smells nasty. Okay. But he wants us to keep moving, and
It's okay. If it's okay with you, I'd like you to come and talk to my nurse, Celia. She's a former ER nurse, and she might be able to help you with the wound, because it seems to really be bothering you.
It smells really bad.
I know. It's okay, though.
Okay, I just don't want to go to the ER. They were really mean last time, and my boyfriend says nobody cares about me, and they're just gonna call me a junkie, and that they're not gonna help me, and I don't want to go through it.
Okay. And first of all, you're not a junkie, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. But let Celia take a look at it for you and change the dressing for you.
Okay, we just have to do it quickly.
Sure, we will.
Okay.
Okay, Tanya, this is Celia. She's my nurse. She's gonna take a look at your wound. Okay.
Would you like a water? You look really uncomfortable. Here you go. Okay. Like Sarah said, my name is Celia, and I was an emergency room nurse for years. So if it's okay, I want to take a look and see what you got going on. Okay. I might be able to tell whether or not you need to go to the hospital. It's kind of sounding like you might need to.
Do you want me to take this off?
If we can slide just your one arm out, that would be fine. Okay.
Need some help? Let me know.
Okay. How bad has this been hurting you?
Really bad.
Have you been finding you need to use a little more often than normal? Yeah. Do you smell anything funny coming out of it? Okay. How have you been feeling? Are you more tired than normal?
Yeah, I'm kind of dizzy, but my boyfriend gets mad if I'm tired. Okay. So he keeps us moving.
Are you able to rest when you need to? Like, are you staying somewhere safe, or you're kind of on the move a lot?
He keeps us moving.
Okay. I'm just going to take a look here.
Oh, this is
okay. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty concerning. I'm going to get this cleaned up, okay? We're going to put a clean bandage on, but I'm really concerned of how this is looking, okay?
Experienced staff are trained to notice red flags. Tanya's wound suggests prolonged exposure to xylazine from IV drug use. Celia is concerned that her wound is infected and that she needs urgent medical care. Her mention of a controlling partner, lack of stable housing, possible withholding of drugs, and visible fear all raise red flags of potential trafficking.
You've been doing a really good job with this wound, but this is above and beyond what I can take care of here out in the community, okay?
Okay.
I think it's time that you might need some antibiotics and get this taken care of.
I don't want to go to the ER. Last time I went there, they were really mean to me, and they called me junkie and my boyfriend says that, like, nobody cares about me, so they're not gonna help me.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. But here's the thing. We have a navigator now at the hospital, and their job is to meet you where you're at, and they will help make sure that we treat the withdrawal when it starts coming so that we can keep you comfortable and get this taken care of, okay? Because this is pretty bad. You've been doing a really good job, but this is above and beyond what we can take care of, okay? So let me tell you, I have a friend. Her name is Mary. She's an advocate. She can come out and talk to us now. I'll have Sarah to call her. She's been through a lot of what you're telling me about. And she has a lot of resources because we can help you with a lot of stuff here, okay? But she can go to the hospital with you and stay with you. And she'll also help make sure you meet that navigator so we keep you comfortable. They can give you lots of resources to keep you healthy and comfortable and get this wound taken care of, okay? You don't have to do this alone, all right? You're not alone in this, and we're going to help you, all right? Is it okay if I have Sarah go ahead and give you a call? Give her a call? Okay. Sarah, can you go ahead and call Mary, please? Let's get her over here and see what we can do.
Sure, no problem.
I think we probably need to call a squad to have her drive over too, okay? All right. We're going to get you feeling better, okay? You're doing a good job. Okay. Okay. Tanya, this is my friend Mary that I told you about. She's going to talk with you a little bit while we wait for the squad to come and get you.
Hi, Tanya. My name is Mary. I am not a nurse. I am not a doctor. I am your advocate. I am here to help you however you need to be helped. Okay? So, I see you do. Would you like to talk? It's no pressure.
I said I would go to the hospital, but my boyfriend's outside. I don't know. I don't know if I can take this long, but I really don't want to lose my arm.
Okay, well, we can do something about that. So we are going to go to the hospital, right? Okay, how about if we have your boyfriend drive, and would you like for me to ride with you? Sit up there and make sure everything okay?
Yeah, she said you would help me going potentially through it in the hospital.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you're going through withdrawals, but that's okay. I know it's real hard. We can get you some medication there. Also, my friend Jordan, who works for the Sun Navigator, Substance Abuse Sun Navigator, she will always be there. I understand they already talked to you a little bit about this. So would everything be okay? All right, then. Well, we'll make you as comfortable as possible. Okay?
I think I hear the squad pulling up.
Okay. All right. The squad's pulling up. Here we go. We're about to go, okay? Would you like me to help you carry anything? Or are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. Here we go. Hey, hi, you two.
Mary.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you for reaching out to me and for reaching out to Tanya for helping her for the things that what she's doing. She's getting help right now.
Oh, wonderful. How's she doing in the ED? Are they helping her with the withdrawal and make her comfortable?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. She was sitting up there. She was admitted for the son admitted her.
For the wound?
Yes, for the wound.
The doctor admitted her for the wound.
Yes,
the
for
son.
the comfortable, right, from the son. And now we're going through, they started her protocols for her withdrawal to make sure everything's okay. And so I'll be working with her, the Sun Navigator. We will sit up there and we'll get a plan together. And I will fit in with that plan and I will follow her wherever she goes.
That's really good. I'm just so glad we had the training to pick up on all the red flags that we were seeing. There were so many red flags we saw.
I couldn't agree more. I truly do think that she was being trafficked, even though she didn't directly say so.
I mean, the way the boyfriend and the way she kept looking out the window and the way he was pacing, she was so nervous about him. Like she was very unsettled.
Right. Well, I'm glad that we was able to keep her and the boyfriend separated for safety.
100%. When you went in the squad with her, and he was told to drive the car, that gave the perfect opportunity just to keep them apart. That was perfect. That was really good.
Okay.
Well,
and what about I heard the clients sit up here, you refer to clients as in a day in the life?
We were talking about a lot of the clients refer to themselves as being in the life, and maybe they're not ready for help, but the fact that we have you as an advocate, and we've had the proper training, and we were able to recognize the red flags.
This story reminds us that compassionate, stigma-free care is more than treatment, it's a lifeline. Education and awareness are vital to recognizing exploitation, especially when addiction is involved. By learning to recognize the hidden intersections of substance use and trafficking, healthcare providers can intervene more effectively. Harm reduction workers are often the first trusted point of contact. Your empathy, vigilance, and willingness to look deeper can help break the cycle of addiction and exploitation. In the fight against human trafficking, every moment of care matters, and everyone has the power to make a difference.
You are awesome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you found us. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just wanted to let you know.
This is what it's about.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion. What indicator did you see in this video? What did the staff do to make her feel more comfortable? What did the staff do to ensure she could be spoken to privately? Is it possible she would change her mind once she has contact with her boyfriend? If so, how? Considerations. Some things to consider after watching this video. You should never try to physically intervene. It is important to have a developed protocol for high-risk situations, such as a code word or a panic button. It's also important to be proficient in crisis de-escalation techniques.
Hey, you call us?
Oh yeah, finally. My girlfriend's having breathing issues, or...
Where's she at?
She's just upstairs. Come on.
Hey,
Hey guys.
how you doing? Yeah? Having some hard time breathing?
You hear that, right? That's weird.
How long
We
has this
just
been going
figure it
on?
out.
What's this?
Dude,
Just a little
watch
bit?
out real quick.
Okay.
Look, she always does
You ever
this.
have
It's-
any type of breathing problems before? Yeah? Asthma or something like that?
She stays up late sometimes. That's probably
Okay,
it, right?
alright.
She watches TV all the time.
Okay, well,
I mean, that's got to be bad for her. I always tell her
I mean,
that.
maybe. Never know.
She gets
Anything else,
mad
Bob?
at it
Hang
too.
on.
She,
Let me talk to her, and then you and me talk, okay? Anything like this ever happened before? Anything else bothering you?
she's had these types of attacks before.
That's alright, man. Just give me a second. Any chest pain or anything like that? Yeah? Okay. Alright. Here, let me talk to you over here, man.
Look, man, she always does this, dude. Can we just get this figured out, please?
Yeah, we're going to run all of our tests, and we have a protocol we got to work through, and we'll let you know what's going on.
It's not one thing, it's the next. You know, I just want to...
It happens. Let me get some information
Take your medicine
from
today?
about her, okay? Alright, what's your first name?
Yeah, medicine out in the ambulance. We'll get you okay.
Jane.
Okay, Jane. Alright,
Take
right
blood
on.
pressure.
What's Jane's last name?
Is she all right?
Yeah, we're good.
Alright. What's Jane's birthday?
Jane Smith.
Okay.
She's
Try and slow your breathing.
October 15th.
Okay, alright. She lives here?
Yes, yeah, she's my girlfriend.
She lives with you?
Yeah. I'm her family.
Okay, I gotcha. Who was that just walked by?
That's just my friend.
Okay, right on. Alright. How long has she been breathing like this?
You know, she has asthma attacks all the time,
good.
but they go away if she just lays down and rests for a bit. I don't...
Hey Jake, you want to get the albuterol?
Yeah, we should probably get that out of the squad though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, yeah, let's get out in the ambulance and do all this stuff.
Alright.
I mean, I got some
Okay.
stuff to do, so I can't come with you guys. Maybe my sister. I can go grab her.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you go grab her? Alright, dear. We're gonna walk out to the ambulance, okay? You gonna be okay on your feet?
Real quick, okay? And we'll get you in the squad.
My sister, she can go with her.
You know, man, we're really not allowed to take anybody in the ambulance with us.
They're friends, so it's...
No, I understand that, but, you know, it's just department policy. We're going to the hospital. It's better if you guys have a car there so you guys can get home afterwards. All right? But just, hey, everybody's got to answer to somebody. We just can't have anybody in the squad, all right?
So none of us can go with you guys?
No, you guys can
We're going to keep going. Right. We're going to keep going. Yeah, it's our rules. All right. Load you in. All right. We'll be right in.
Something seems off about that.
And she's smoking cigarettes and asthmatic.
Yeah. Boyfriend doing all the talking.
And the locks on the doors.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah, dead giveaway.
Oh, hey, Chief.
Hey, Tom.
What's going on? Just reading that email about the SWAT team raid they ended up doing on a house. I guess the EMS crew a couple weeks ago saw something with a patient they involved in some type of human trafficking scheme. They said something to the hospital, ended up being a raid on a house. Like, what happened there? What do you know?
So yeah, the police had been looking at that house for a long time, and the squad crew was able to convey information to the hospital and allowed them to break up a human trafficking ring.
Really? Man, that's crazy to think that in this community, I guess, or any community, but strong work by that crew. That's awesome.
Cool. All right.
Some discussion questions. What indicators did you see in this video? What did the staff do to make her feel more comfortable? What did the staff do to ensure she could be spoken to privately? If this were a quote-unquote frequent flyer, would you still notice some of the subtle signs? Some things to consider after watching this video. You should never try to intervene physically. It's important to be observant of environmental clues and to be proficient in crisis de-escalation techniques.
This will be your labor and delivery room. And I'm going to have you just go ahead and have a seat on the bed here for me when you can. Take your time. And I'm going to have you just have a seat in the chair for me. Thank you. Debbie, just a reminder, my name is Lisa and I'm going to be your nurse today. We have you on the fetal monitor, so now I'm going to just get a set of vital signs. I see you have a really big bruise over here, so I'm going to put it on this arm, okay? And I'm going to ask you just a few history questions while I get your vital signs.
I need something.
Okay.
It just hurts.
Right. We're going to get working on that.
It just hurts so bad.
Debbie, how many pregnancies have you had in the past?
I already told the people in the ER that she's had several miscarriages.
Oh my God.
Debbie, I understand your water broke at home?
Yeah, that's why I brought her.
So have you had prenatal care for this pregnancy?
No, she hasn't seen any doctors either.
No, I'm scared.
I'm going to go ahead and get your temperature, okay? Is that contraction about over?
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to put that under your tongue there. You're doing great.
Oh God, I need something.
So, Debbie, when I took your temperature, I noticed that you had some open sores in your mouth.
Yeah, those have always been there.
Okay. I really appreciate, I know that you're trying to help because she's in a lot of pain, but I really need for her to answer just her history questions, okay? Her medical history questions.
Just help me.
I'm going to ask you a serious question. Do you use alcohol or drugs? Okay. Okay. So, as I'm looking at the fetal heart rate monitor, it does show you're having contractions. Yeah, I know. You're definitely having contractions. And the baby's heart rate is a little above normal. So we really need to get some fluids and medications going. But I know that they had a difficult time getting an IV and triage. So I'm going to call a special nurse to come in and place a different kind of line called a PICC line. Okay? I know.
Would you hurry up and get done whatever you need to get done?
And unfortunately, we're going to be bringing a lot of equipment in, and it's a sterile procedure, so I'm going to have you step out into the waiting area.
Yeah, I don't know what your problem is. Fine.
Oh, God. So, Debbie, I know I explained to you before about the PICC line, and it's really important that we get that placed to give you fluid and medications. Okay, we can give you some pain medication as soon as that's placed.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you're okay with us placing that? Okay. I want you to know that this is a safe place, okay? So you're going to be here with us for a few days, and I do have to say I have some concerns about your health. Okay, I notice a lot of bruising on you, and I just want you to know that you are very safe here.
Don't have her back. Don't let her back in. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. Oh.
So what I hear you saying is that you do not want your cousin to come back in the room? Okay. Well, that is completely up to you, and I will support that decision 100%. Okay. So Debbie, can I touch your arm? Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to put my hand right here. Because I just want you to know that right now you are in a safe place, okay? And I'm here for you to make you more comfortable. And I have some concerns about your health, okay? Is there anything that I can do that would make you more comfortable right now? Would you like a warm blanket or some ice chips?
Yes. Yes, warm blanket.
A warm blanket?
Yes.
Okay. Let me grab that for you and I'll be right back, okay? Okay. Debbie, I have your warm blanket. I'm going to put this on you, okay? Is that contraction over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Debbie, I need to ask you a question. Okay. When and what did you use last?
It was heroin.
Okay.
Please don't take my baby.
I appreciate you being honest with me about that. I know that's not easy, but I know.
That might be wrong. I don't know. I don't know who the dad is. I don't know nothing. I'm so scared. Please.
Debbie, by you being honest with me about that, that's going to help us better take care of your baby.
I just can't do it by myself.
So Debbie, we're just waiting on the nurse to come place the PICC line. Do you care if I touch your arm?
Don't touch me.
Okay.
Don't touch me.
Well, I just want you to know that you are in a safe place right now, okay? Is there anything that I can do to make you more comfortable?
Oh, it hurts.
Do you want a warm blanket?
No.
Okay. Debbie, is that contraction over?
I just stop asking me questions. My head hurts. It hurts, and I need something now. I need it now.
Debbie, I'm not going to ask you a question, but I just want to let you know that you don't.
Please.
Debbie,
give me something now. It hurts.
She's on her
It
way.
hurts.
She's on her
Please.
way. She's on her way. But I do want to just let you know very quickly that you do not have to have anyone in the room that you don't want to have in here, okay? And we will support anything that you want to do, okay?
No, don't let her back in. No.
Okay.
No, please.
Well, that is completely up to you, and I can support that 100%.
Can't tell you nothing.
Hi, Debbie. Oh, it looks like your IV's working good and your pain medicines have kicked in.
Thank you so
Oh, you're welcome. You look a lot more comfortable. I have a couple questions to ask you, and I know this isn't easy, but we ask these of all of our pregnant moms, okay? Can you tell me when and what you used last?
I used heroin this morning.
All right, well, I really appreciate you answering that question because that's going to help us, better prepare for you and your baby at delivery, okay?
Please.
We have a,
Don't let him take my baby.
We will have a great medical team here ready for the baby at delivery, and we'll take very good care of both of you. Okay. Okay.
Discussion. What indicators did you see in this video? What did the staff do to make her feel more comfortable? What did the staff do to ensure she could be spoken to privately? What is at stake if you were to be offended by the patient refusing your help and interrupting you while you're trying to speak with her about her situation? Considerations. Never try to intervene physically. Always respect the patient's decision and accept their no. As you build rapport, they are more likely to trust you and disclose something. In the video, the nurse empathizes with the patient but never makes false promises about the baby or what will happen. It is important to be compassionate and supportive while also keeping your word. False promises might further traumatize the patient.
No reason. Nothing's wrong.
Brianna S. Hi, Brianna. My name's Jen. I'm going to be your nurse. Who'd you bring with you today?
My grandma. I don't need her back with me, though. I've done this before.
Okay. Do you live with your grandma?
No, I live with my mom and a younger sister who's 11. My mom could not bring me today because she was not at home.
Okay. What brings you in to see us?
I've been having vaginal discharge for the past several days and odor.
Are you sexually active?
Yes.
Okay. Do you use protection?
No.
Are you on any birth control?
Nope.
How about your last menstrual cycle? When was that?
About 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Let me just put all that information in the computer, okay? The nurse reviews Brianna's chart, past medical history, and other social determinants of health. She sees that Brianna has had 4 other visits over the past year that were for similar concerns and was diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease at one of the visits. She has no other medical problem. She notes that Brianna is behind in her immunizations and has missed many of her scheduled appointments. Under family comments, Brianna's mother's name and number is listed, as well as her grandmother's name and number under additional information. You were able to see that Child Protective Services were involved with the family several years back because Brianna was missing too much school. Okay, Brianna, because of the reason that you're here today, we're going to need to do a pelvic exam. Have you ever had that done before?
Yes, many times.
Okay. Do you have any questions about what's going to take place or how that's done?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, Brianna, I need to get some vitals. Can I take that for you? All right. So, are you in high school?
Yeah, I'm a sophomore.
Yeah, do you like school?
I don't mind it.
How about any sports? Are you in the band or play soccer or anything?
No, I have to take care of my sister.
Oh, okay. Do you work? I know a lot of kids have summer jobs right now.
I guess you could call it that.
So, Brianna, I wanted to ask you, have you ever thought about getting on some birth control? Is that something you might be interested in talking to the doctor about today?
I never really thought about it. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Well, just because you're on birth control, it doesn't protect you from HIV or sexually transmitted diseases, okay? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to keep talking to you a little bit because I am concerned for your safety. Because you're 15, we have to report it to law enforcement if adults are having sex with you. So is it okay if I ask you a couple more questions?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have sex with more than one partner?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who they are?
No, but I do it for the money for food. It's for my younger sister and I.
Okay. Is someone pressuring you to have sex with these men?
I don't know. Not really.
Okay. About how old are they?
Teenagers to about my mom's age.
Does your mom know?
Yes, and she don't care because we eat good at my house and she's a crackhead, so she's never home.
Brianna, thank you for sharing this. I want you to know this is a safe place.
I just want it to stop. I'm worried about my sister and I'm just tired.
I hear you. I hear you're really stressed out.
but we're going to keep you safe and we're going to make everything happen to where you and your sister are safe, okay? Because I'm a nurse, I am mandated to report this to the law enforcement. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you want me to go get your grandma while we talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Discussion. What indicators did you see in this video? What are some of the patient's vulnerabilities that might have contributed to her becoming a victim of human trafficking? What other questions might be helpful for the nurse to ask to better understand the patient's situation? Considerations. You will need to call both law enforcement and Child Protective Services to report your concerns. What is your office, hospital, agency, or organization's policy on who gives consent when a minor is brought in for a regular appointment versus a life-threatening emergency? Be mindful of what is charted in the electronic medical record and who could have access to the record. Now that we have discussed what human trafficking is and how it manifests, you may be wondering what you should do if you suspect human trafficking. If someone is in immediate danger, call 911. It's important to have resources available for everyone and affirm and be supportive. You can provide a safe space to have conversations privately and use third-party interpreters if necessary. Work through stigma and bias and treat suspected victims with respect. Observe and document warning signs to report to law enforcement or to the human trafficking hotline. While we all want to help, there are ways that we may be well-intentioned that are not helpful. We need to be aware that leaving is a process, and every little bit of support offered along the way can't be underestimated. So, we don't want you to feel the need to rescue or save. This can cause more harm to the survivor and you. We don't want you to instigate conflict between the suspected trafficker and survivor, or to use negative or stigmatizing language. We don't want you to be afraid to ask hard questions. We don't want you to stop offering support if the person is not ready to leave the situation. It is important to develop policies and procedures that are well known so that your staff feels prepared and ready if someone discloses sexual assault, domestic violence, or human trafficking. Having resources to local survivor-based agencies available and knowing referral processes are also very helpful.
Now we will go over the options of who you can call to relay your concerns or your observations. If you feel that someone is in a life-threatening situation or at risk of imminent harm, if you are witnessing a trafficking crime in progress, if a potential victim is at a location and is likely to be moved very shortly, and if you need immediate physical rescue or protection, then you should call 911 at that moment. Now, if the situation is not an emergency situation, you can also refer that to the non-emergency law enforcement number of your jurisdiction.
Are you a mandated reporter? Under Kansas law, mandated reporters, including healthcare professionals, teachers, social workers, and counselors, are legally required to report any suspicion of child abuse or neglect to the Department of Children and Families or law enforcement immediately. Reports must be made based on reason to suspect harm, not proof, and should include details on the child, incident, and alleged perpetrator. If you are not a mandated reporter but observe something concerning happening to a minor under the age of 18, you should still call the DCF hotline. That number is 1-800-922-5330, and it is a 24-hour hotline.
Additionally, if you have tips of a non-emergent nature, suspicions, ways to seek support, there's also the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and that number is provided here of 1-888-373-7888. This hotline is a non-governmental organization and offers a confidential way to explore options before involving authorities. Also, the National Human Trafficking Hotline is also able to gather tips from the entire nation and may be helpful to construct patterns of trafficking that may be happening in different jurisdictions and different regions.
The Willow Domestic Violence Center builds safer communities through shelter, services, and support for survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. The Willow serves survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking in Douglas, Jefferson, and Franklin counties. In addition, we serve survivors of human trafficking in Leavenworth, Osage, Johnson, Miami, Atchison, Nemaha, Brown, Wyandotte, and Donovan counties. Program services include a 24/7 crisis hotline, emergency shelter, court advocacy, support services, rural advocacy services, human trafficking program, foster care transition support program, youth prevention and education, and community presentations and workshops. All services are free and confidential and open to anyone experiencing domestic violence or human trafficking. For safety reasons, we ask that clients call our hotline themselves to enroll in our services. It is the port of entry for all of our services except for our presentations and community workshops. Our hotline advocates have access to a language line, allowing them to communicate with people in any language. Our human trafficking services are provided by specific advocates, as the needs are often quite different than traditional domestic violence services. To learn more about the Willow, please visit our website at www.willowdvcenter.org.
The Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center is a nonprofit organization that provides people of all genders and ages in Douglas, Jefferson, and Franklin counties with client-centered counseling, crisis response, advocacy, prevention, and education by ensuring services are free, confidential, and accessible.
A special thank you to the Children's Advocacy Center of Douglas County. Their mission is to ensure that children and families affected by child abuse receive a compassionate, community-based intervention through a multidisciplinary team approach to prevent, identify, investigate, prosecute, and treat child abuse. Some of their services include family advocacy, forensic interviews, trauma therapy, and therapy specific to problematic sexual behavior. The following slide includes a video with more information about children advocacy centers and how they help our communities. Here is a concise list of resources, both national and local, for somebody who might be experiencing human trafficking. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-7888. The Willow Domestic Violence Center is 785-843-3333. The Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center is 785-843-8985. You can either give this information to someone directly or have it hanging up in your business so people can see it and call on their own. Large events increase the risk of human trafficking, but informed communities reduce it. Thank you for taking the time to learn how to recognize and respond to human trafficking ahead of the FIFA World Cup 2026. If you're feeling impacted, take a moment to care for yourself before moving on. Awareness matters, and so does your well-being. For questions about this training or prevention efforts, please contact Adrienne Nunez, Director of Communications at the Willow Domestic Violence Center, at communications@willowdvcenter.org. If someone is in immediate danger, please call 911 or contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline. On behalf of the Willow Domestic Violence Center and the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center, thank you again for caring about your community and participating in this training. Your facilitators from the Willow are Heather Muth, the Prevention Education Coordinator, and Adrienne Nunez, Director of Communications. Your facilitators from the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center are Christina Gentry, Associate Director, and Zach Newby, Education Specialist.